Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market, back with an actual finance video here on this channel. It's been a while since I've done one here, but I want to give everyone an alert about Commander 2020. So it is happening. I did a video over at my main channel over at Rogue Deck Builder talking about how the crypto money, the speculators, are really starting to target the hobby industry. They've bought out Pokemon, and the natural move after Pokemon is going to be to Magic, and we are seeing a ton of movement in some of these sets that are not very old, just recently printed, like Commander 2020, as you see here in front of you. A couple of other ones that are being targeted right now is Guilds of Ravnica and War of the Spark. They are starting to disappear from distributors. A week or so ago, all distributors had a healthy number of like Core 2019, Guilds of Ravnica, War of the Spark. They have increased the prices across the board. Distributors have increased the prices of those particular sets, and there are very few distributors that have any left. And if the ones they do have left are small quantities. So I think that getting in on those recently rotated sets or last year's sets is probably a smart move. Now, Commander 2020, I wasn't very happy about this set. I thought there's a lot of stinkers in Commander 2020, mainly due to the fact that I thought that the Commander cards were very, very, very reprintable. So the things like the Fierce Guardianship, the Deflecting Swat, the Deadly Rock, this is where all of the money in the Commander, look at that, it goes from the free manas to a Skull Clamp. So that's the jump of cards. So Fierce Guardianship, Deflecting Swat, Rollick, Maneuver, Skull Clamp. So after that, the next rare is the Shared Animosity at $3. I mean, it's just a lot of stinkers when it comes to the form of reprints in rares. And then you get your normal reprints that get reprinted almost every year, like Propaganda, Lightning Greaves, Skull Clamp, Soul Ring is in this mix with the Boots. There are those type of cards. Arcane Signet has got a hit from the Commander Legends. So this was those type of cards we could expect to hold their value until the following years for Commanders. But I think Commander Legends, we're going to continue to see those particular cards that were reprinting Commander Legends drop. However, Commander 2020 will be a good set going forward if Wizards of the Coast can resist the urge or the temptation to reprint these cards. And I think that that is not going to happen. I have made the prediction that Commander 2021 will have these. That's why they were printed in Rare and not in Mythic. Usually that's a telltale sign with how they print cards in Commander, is if they put them at rarities, they typically do get reprinted again in Commander sets. Now, they did miss their printings in the sets coming up in the Kaldheim as well as Zendikar, and a lot of people are like shoving their finger in my face and saying, "Ha, I told you so, those weren't being reprinted." Well, that's probably not the right place for those cards. Those are considered intro decks for Commander, and one of the goals for those decks was not to put any cumbersome cards as far as hard to get rules in those particular sets. So this is supposed to be when they call it C20, or in this case it'll be C21, that will release with the next set. The summer set usually is when, or the spring set actually is when they released these last time. So last year with Ikoria at the spring, and this year the next set coming out, they will do a Commander 2021. And this is typically where these higher cards, like the better cards, the higher power level cards, are going. And you've got to also remember that these are the MSRP that are higher, so they can include these sort of chase cards. So I think that Wizards of the Coast is going to continue to reprint these particular cards. They've stated they want these in Commander because Commander's become too much about threats and not enough about answers, and all of these are answer-based cards. And again, I just want to reiterate that I really believe that printing these of rares instead of Mythic is just a telltale sign that these are going to get reprinted. So where do I feel about Commander 2020? I still do not like it as much as I like Commander 2019. I think Commander 2019 is the better set with cards that are in the Mythic slot, especially. With Commander 2019, we have some goodies in that sort of slot. Like the first Mythic, though, is not worth money whatsoever. It's Dragmaster Outcast. But we do have Dockside Distortionist at almost the $50 range in the Seedborn Muse. And it just felt like there are more cards in this set that had a better chance of going up in value long term than the Commander 2020. But all in all, they're both pretty poor sets, and they've sold poorly. And it's very interesting to see that Commander 2020 has been the set that is doing better. And I have a couple of hypotheses for that. So first of all, supply. Commander 2019 did in fact get a reprint. It got a very massive reprint. So this was a hard Commander set to actually find right out the gates. It sold reasonably well, and it was just undersupplied. And then there's a huge delay for Commander 2019 reprint or restock. And then the restock came, it was actually sold in pretty high quantities, but they continued to supply it. And the supply of Commander 2019, in my opinion, or in my hypothesis, is a much greater value than Commander 2020. Commander 2020 had kind of the opposite. There's plenty of Commander 2020 out the gates. There wasn't a lot of supply hiccups issues. They did their normal let's delay everything for the street date product. So they had the pre-release product, they had the street date product, and they had like a 2-week delay until they released the rest of the wave. But after that, there wasn't like an absence of Commander 2020. You could get Commander 2020. It was in high supply. And then it just, over this past, I would say, month, it just dried out. So that means that the supply was probably lower than Commander 2019 to begin with. And the people that targeted Commander 2020 were more successful at drying the supply of this than something like Commander 2019. Commander 2019 has had some decent investments as well. Talking from my end, from the high-end buyers that have looked at this set as a better investable set. I, of course, like Commander 2019 just age-wise. It's a year older than Commander 2020, so that's another reason that some of these cards, like the Bone Miser from the Commander 2019, I think will be able to go up in value before, say, something from the Commander 2020, like let's another rare here, like maybe a Shared Animosity, or some of these other cards like the Manescape Refractor. So keep that in mind with Commander 2019. That could be a possible buyout here in the next coming weeks. And it is moving quick. Like every day, I'm having to update Pokemon prices and Magic the Gathering prices here at my store based upon how I do it at my store is I basically sell things based on the value that I can resupply them. So, for example, if Rebel Clash is going for, say, $110 to distributors, I will reflect that in the price in the quantities of the supply that I have in my store right now. If that goes up to 135, I update it. Same thing for my patrons. It's a constant updating prices. And man, I have never been so busy by looking at prices and updating prices. And oh wow, this went up $5 from yesterday. This one. Usually we have this pretty stagnant price until something major happens, like a rotation or a new product comes out or whatnot, to where. Or a big one is when Wizard of the Coast announces that it's out of its reprint date. So, like 2 months ago, Modern Horizons, they said, okay, we're no longer going to be supplying Modern Horizons. So the last chance distributors can get it from Wizards of the Coast to resupply their own. And you would expect at that point to see a big price increase because now distributors have to resupply it, and they usually bump it up based upon their stock. But it's weird right now. Everything has happened this January, and it probably has to do a lot with the $600 money, the stimulus check that came out. That always seems to affect like the collectibles industry. But I think that if you can go and get more on the topic of my Rogue Deck Builder, where I talk about how there has been some big players that have entered the scene where hobbies and collectibles are looking like a safe bet. And it's to the day that you can basically invest in any Magic the Gathering product, even those terrible Chinese decks, the ones that had no playable cards in them, have increased in value, which is just insane at this point. I think Challenger decks are a few weeks behind. I think Commander 2018, as I say, is a few weeks behind. I think Core 2020 is only a few weeks behind before it's going to go above its normal distributor price of around $85. And the time is now to get into these sort of products. I do think there will be a lull in the summer like we see every year. But with the dollar being inflated, with more stimulus probably coming in the form of $1,400, it's probably a pretty safe bet to go into anything, even these what we call sneaker sets for Magic the Gathering. So I thought I'd give everyone a quick update for where we're at with Magic. We aren't really seeing a lot of price increase as far as the expected value that you will see. There are a couple of things like Khans of Tarkir I've noticed have been having a pretty big uptick. I wonder if it's definitely not fetch lands because those are still being supplied through Zendikar. So I wonder what Khans of Tarkir with the movement of that particular set is. And other than that, though, not a lot of movement like we've seen, like Return to Ravnica, Gatecrash have slight movements up, but this is recovering from something that actually had a downturn. But you can also see that like Core Set 2020 and Core Set 20 19 have been going up, and even standard sets are actually doing quite well. Look at Throne of Eldraine and Theros Beyond Death. This was some EV from these particular sets was supposed to not be able to get to this high because of collector's editions, and these are sets that collector's editions still exist in the form of Eldraine. You can still get collector's edition boosters, which come in those what they call sleeve boosters, which you find like at the checkout stands at your big box stores. And then Theros Beyond Death still actually even has sealed collector's edition available at distributors. And Ikoria as well has been taken up, which is kind of crazy. You usually don't see this until post rotation. Zendikar, however, is doing pretty terrible. Its value is based upon, I still believe you get a $30 on average from your topper. That's especially if you hit a fetch. Maybe I'm mistaken there, but that's doing well for the Zendikar Rising. So you got to kind of keep that in factor in with Zendikar Rising. It does come with that box topper. So I'm interested to see how well the Kaldheim is going to affect standard prices. Commander's still going strong. There are a lot of cards from even Ravnica Allegiance that are still going strong. I still think that it's sooner rather than later than getting in on this block. War of the Spark, I think, will be the next Dominaria. Dominaria, it's, as far as EV is concerned, doesn't reflect how much boxes are going for. Boxes go for like 160 for Dominaria, and War of the Spark, I think, is only a few weeks behind to where we get up to that 140s, 150s with War. And then Ravnica Allegiance Guilds Ravnica, if we ever do see Pioneer play become a thing again, I think that shocks are the new fetches. And as far as shocks are concerned, they're the second best land, the second best chase land. The supply is quite high of them, but I would even argue that the supply of shock lands might be very similar to the supply of fetch lands with the amount of reprints we got from like the Secret Layers, as well as now from the Zendikar Rising box toppers. So those are some interesting things to be looking forward to. If you enjoy these videos, let me know in the comment section below what other topics I should cover. I will be trying to bring back things like the Rogue Roundup. Those are very time-consuming, intense videos to do, and it's very, very tough for me to dedicate time. But I do want to pay attention to this channel and give it some love. I still am very interested in the finance side of Magic the Gathering. It's a very interesting time to be in the finance side with so much of like I said, the crypto bro money and the speculation money that is starting to enter into Magic the Gathering. And we hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Kevin with the Rogue Market. Thanks for watching.